Brother, I'm going, run a wild Hulk Hogan. If I like get some moment, I'll make sure it's an explosion. Cause lately I've been seeing stars, trying to kick out on this choke cord. But it's no holds barred, middle fingers like I'm Stone Cold.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Slappin' Meat Wrestling Podcast. I'm WeTooDeep. We're about to get in this thing. We got a star-studded show for you. We got a lot to cover. We're gonna cover some news. We're gonna get into the spiciness of the IWC as some things that they've uncovered that I want to talk about, and we're gonna ask one important question here, and that question we're gonna discuss later in the show is: has WWE overbooked CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre? It's a conversation that I do want to contemplate. But then we're gonna end the show. We're gonna end the show where me being the unofficial official YouTube NXT representative, I'm gonna give the WeTooDeep NXT mid-year power rankings. We're 7 months through the year. We're a little bit past 50% of the year, but we're going to give the mid-year power rankings for NXT. This was a lot harder to come up with the list. We're going to do the top 10, and this is all superstars, right? Maybe I could have done a little bit of like category separation and done like the men's, the women's, maybe like a tag team type thing. But for right now, maybe we'll do that next week. You know, we'll chalk that up. We'll separate the categories and we'll do that next week. But for now, I'm going to give my overall top 10 wrestlers or male, female, or tag team on NXT. This is the NXT mid-year power rankings by yours truly, WeTooDeep. That's how we'll end the show. But let's start by taking care of some business. In the description, there are a couple links. The first one that you'll come across is the link to the WWE shop. If you guys want to go get you some merch prior to SummerSlam this weekend, go buy. I'm sure they're going to be running some deals over the next few days. Go and use our link. Support your boys here at the Slappin' Meat Wrestling Podcast. And that's what that first link is in there, as well as if you don't want to click the link, watch through the whole episode. In the outro, there will be a QR code as well that will take you to our Discord page for the Junkyard Media Group. What this Discord link will take you to the page. You'll join. What you get there is you get just the continuing conversation of the Junkyard Media Group community as we're trying to grow this. So that'll be me. And it's the conversation between two different shows. It's the Slappin' Meat show with me and Wavy D, as well as the Beyond the Junkyard podcast, which Junkyard James, with my brother, and K-Dog Cody do on Thursday nights at 9 p.m. ish. Every Thursday Eastern time, 9 p.m. ish, 9-ish. They're always a little late. But that link for their YouTube channel to get to their show is in the description as well. You could find all the audio in one simple place, and that's junkyardmediagroup.com. That's junkyardmediagroup.com. Again, go get your merchandise. Let's go ahead and take care of this as well. You'll be reminded in the outro of this. If you're listening on on YouTube, you'll see the outro, and you'll see that we ask for a review on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. If you're listening on the audio version, again, if you haven't already, please leave us a review. It's the best way to get us in the audio sort of algorithm. If you're watching on YouTube, I asked you, Wavy D I will ask you as well, as a group here, to hit the like button, leave a comment. That's how you get us in the algorithms there. But now that business is taken care of, let's talk. Let's get a little spicy. Let's get a little spicy here in the eye. We're gonna spend some time getting behind the scenes of AEW here, as 3 stories have come out about AEW that I do want to talk about. This first one, I gave my opinions a little bit on last night on the casual wrestling community YouTube page, the casual wrestling show with Notorious Nerdy D. Myself and Wavy D were there on their live stream, their Community Thursday live stream, and we talked about this topic a little bit, and that is of Shane McMahon to AEW. Is this going to be a thing? And what are my thoughts on it? And basically what I stated there was, yeah, just let it happen. And I'm going to stand on the business. When the rumors were started of Shane potentially talking to Tony Khan, my take on this is, yeah, let it happen. It comes out, maybe this is WWE sort of trying to do like damage control, that he approached them and they didn't want him, and so essentially this is WWE's excuse can now be, well, we didn't want him, you got our sloppy seconds, right? Now I truly don't believe they wanted him. I don't know if it's, beef between Vince or excuse me, Shane and Triple H. I don't know the background story behind all of that, like why they. But let's just be honest, WWE's cooking right now, and it would be a shame if Shane tried to sneak his way back in and try to take a spot from one of these guys or gals that are already sort of putting in a lot of work to. He's not needed on the WWE product right now. He's just not needed on the WWE product right now. As far as what he does with there's no way. I can't imagine a situation where Shane McMahon just agrees to a creative deal backstage. And also, if I'm Tony Khan, I'm not putting him on a creative deal because he's not very creative. His ideas aren't very good, right? And so he's definitely going to be an on-screen character. I can see this being where he's sort of like the physical representation of the powers that be, so that Tony Khan doesn't have to be on screen, but Shane McMahon could sort of be that sort of leader of Team AEW that tries to stop the elite. That's the type of character I see him being. I don't see him doing anything else. I think he can come in. I think behind the scenes he offers some wealth of knowledge, but I also think there's going to be an ego attached to it. Like, yo, dude, I'm a McMahon. Like, I used to help run the biggest wrestling company. Like, and I don't think that type of ego is really needed in a company already full of egos, right? And so I think there's going to be a power struggle, man. If Shane's going to want some control, Tony's Tony wants control. I'm sure that the Young Bucks want some of that control. I think there's going to be a little bit of that power struggle that they're going to have to deal with. And at this point, I think it's just laughable. I think that a lot of people backstage at WWE right now are just sitting there waiting for this cluster fuck to happen. And just sitting there laughing their asses off right now. Seeing Shane McMahon come to AEW as sort of like the last ditch effort to try to remain somewhat relevant in the world of wrestling. What's next? Goldberg, right? And that's sort of like the thing. Like, what's next? Ryback. I don't know how much lower on the totem pole of like, right. But what I'm actually ready to see is the complete 180 hypocrisy of the cultists that are AEW fans, right? Uh, the narrative switch where Tony Khan and those who nut ride him were saying, oh, you can't support McMahon, you can, WWE's the Harvey Weinstein of pro wrestling, but now you're going to hire his son, like, and the complete 180 switch of like, oh, I can't wait to see Shane. Like I saw all these people get excited that potentially, like, that narrative switch is already happening, right? And it's crazy how quickly people try to memory hole how Tony Khan used to talk about WWE, or like you can't have it both ways, right? People try to, you know, justify this type of change in opinion that literally 3 months ago Tony Khan was saying that he was better than WWE because they're the Harvey Weinstein. You hire someone that's probably complacent in this, either A, by knowing what his dad was doing and not doing anything of it, or two, just completely ignorant to what's going on in the company that he's supposedly supposed to help run. Like, come on, you don't think Shane don't know some secrets? Like, I don't know. I just, it's at this point, he's gonna be an on-screen character, and I'm not interested in that. I'm no more interested in Shane McMahon jumping off of stupid shit as I am Darby Allin jumping off stupid shit. And that's sort of the type of match that I think we could see, where like they pair Darby with Shane, um, in against the Elite in some way, shape, or form. Like, I can see them doing some sort of. I know they just did their blood and guts match, but I can see them sort of putting like Shane McMahon as like an on-screen mentor to some of these like pro, like team AEW guys, like a Darby Allin. Like I could see them putting Shane McMahon in sort of the type of position that Sting was in with Darby. As right, I think it's stupid. I'm beyond. And I can also see them doing the complete opposite, and not really putting him in that power structure on screen, and just having him do random matches. But my question is how long does this sort of nostalgia ride, the sort of, it's going to be a ratings boost maybe for 1 or 2 weeks, but how long does a Shane McMahon nostalgia ride go for before people realize that this is just dumb? And so yeah, that's where I'm at with it. I don't actually care. I don't think it changes anything in the landscape of professional wrestling. I think it's more just shock value that McMahon's son went to the enemy, right? That McMahon's son, right? But I also think, like, what if in some kind of like crazy way this is just an attempt to try to get within the ranks of AEW, and try to sort of Trojan horse this, where like, yeah, Shane comes over, I want to help you with the company, but then ultimately slowly tanks the shit to where WWE can take control of it. I don't know. That's sort of like conspiratorial, but at this point, who really cares, right? So let's get a little bit more messy, right? Let's get a little bit more messy. There's something that came out, like I don't know if Adam Cole tweeted it himself. I don't remember. But he's moving back to Pennsylvania from what I understood, and that leads people to believe that potentially him and Britt Baker have split. And this was actually a conversation that me and K Dog were having a couple weeks ago about, that he thought that they were no longer together because they no longer, he was going down a bunch of like social media stuff where like they no longer follow each other. One of them's deleted all the pictures with the other one in it or something like that, right? And I don't pay that close attention to wrestler social medias to really notice this type of thing. But I do think it's, first off, congratulations to Britt Baker. Like you're free of that. Like, not that Adam Cole's a bad person, but like she's like a 10 and he's like a 3. And like he definitely was, she was definitely dating down. Like big time dating down. Um and yeah, I don't really necessarily care. I think it's kind of crazy that we care about wrestlers' personal lives anyway, that this even has to be news. In the same sort of messiness, I saw this on Reddit, and it looks like, and then she came out and actually confirmed it. So we could talk about this because she now confirmed it, right? Mercedes Moné has signed her divorce from her husband, Sarath, I think is his name. Was a costume designer for her when she was in WWE. I don't know if he still works for WWE or not. I don't think so, but he still could. But this is one of those situations. This is a little bit more that I have an opinion on because I don't necessarily care that Cole and Britt Baker are right. I reading into Mercedes Moné, like, first off, congratulations to Sarath. Like, you don't have to deal with what I would imagine is like going through hell. Like there's a reason I don't like Mercedes Moné. Like, I don't think she understands that like the Sasha Banks character works as a character on TV. But from what I've read and seen, that she sort of actually feels that way. Right, some of the things that she does were like she thinks she's better than the average person. Like, Mercedes, what are you talking about, right? I don't know. And then I saw something today, and I actually agree with this. Give it 3 to 4 months, and more than likely what this is in 3 to 4 months it's going to come out that she's sleeping around with one of the talent or multiple talent backstage, and or some other wrestler in the business, and that in 3 to 4 months we'll find out that they're dating and this, that, and the third. Sort of like a Sammy Guevara situation, right? This, right, and shit, it wouldn't even surprise me if it's Sammy she's sleeping with, which would be insane. It would be insane if it's Sammy. It's not. He's married to Ty, and I think he's sort of grown up from some of the earlier stuff. But it would be insane if it's Sammy, considering the comments he made about her when she was in WWE. That probably should have disqualified him from working for any major company. Like, I don't know about you, but if I knew that one of my potential employer or one of my employees had said that they wish to force himself upon a woman, I don't know if they're still employed by me, right? Or even considered to be employed by me, right? But I don't know, man. This is crazy. First off, like, again, I don't actually care. Mercedes' life is Mercedes' life. But this just goes to show how little news there is in wrestling, that we're talking about people's personal lives, right? She's divorced. It is what it is. I'm sure she's been hanging around other guys. Someone I saw on Twitter, X, stated that it wouldn't be surprised if it's Kalisto, because they go to them two have been seen all the time throughout the years in like Mexico or on vacations together or whatever, and it wouldn't be a surprise. Look, I don't care. She can do what she want to do. That's her life. She gonna be the one held responsible for it in the end. I'm just not the biggest fan of Mercedes as a person in general or as a character. I think she thinks that she's better than everyone. Especially like the common people, like the way she treats fans and stuff, like that have come out. I just don't have a care in the world about her, and it's really made me less of a fan of her character because I don't I just can't stand her, to be honest with you. I just can't stand her at all. And it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy that they're in a story together and now both of their relationships are done, essentially. It's kind of crazy. Um, I saw some theory that some believe that potentially Sasha's sleeping around with Tony Khan, and that would be also about doubly insane. As you know, I would probably prefer Sammy Guevara because that sort of fits the narrative. But there's right, but you don't divorce somebody who, I mean, let's just understand again. Sarat or whatever his name was he married up, right? He's a little bit dorky looking, right? But you don't go from that to fucking Tony Khan. Because Tony Khan's even more dorky looking, but he comes with it. And this is the coined phrase that Nerdy D coined yesterday about Tony Khan. You don't go from to someone who looks even more dorky that's also got the cocaine and autism. That that's crazy, right? If I find out that Tony Khan's sleeping around with Mercedes Moné, bro, I'm done. I'm done covering this company. That's crazy. First off, it's wildly inappropriate. It's wildly inappropriate, right? But also, like, how are that any better than what he just critiqued Vince McMahon for doing, right? You see the sort of hypocrisy of that comes out. So yeah, so let's move on to our major topic for today before we get to the mid-year power rankings. Has WWE overbooked CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre? This is without a doubt an easy question to answer. The answer is yes. This is well overbooked, like way overbooked, man. Way overbooked. WWE really took what was the perfect story and sort of forced Seth Rollins into it. And it's not like I don't like Seth Rollins in his current character, but I'm not like a perpetual hater of him. Like I think he's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's deservedly going to be a Hall of Famer. He's had a really good career. I think at one point, like, well, the last 2 years, it feels like that he's sort of held Monday Night Raw by himself. And I respect him a lot, but I feel like at times, like, Triple H forces him in situations he doesn't need to be in. He didn't need to be involved in this, man. How he didn't even need to be on the card. I think the card has enough star power alone that you don't need a Seth Rollins on the card. I just feel like this makes the match all about him, and it's sort of taken what was the perfect storyline and sort of just made it like a blood, like either A, this goes one way where it becomes like Punk versus Rollins and we end the Drew part of the story, which I'm not really satisfied with that, because that means Drew's going to win this and it's going to feel like sort of, screwing back CM Punk, which maybe that's the story they're trying to get. But if it continues and it goes into like the potential triple threat, that also is going to feel kind of like it didn't need to happen. Like I feel like this ends up at Bad Blood being like a triple threat Hell in a Cell match type thing, and I don't necessarily think that's beneficial. I think we could have waited to build a Seth versus Punk story for Mania till like we could have begun that at Royal Rumble. I personally believe that. I don't know. I feel like they just completely they did too much. They took what was perfect and was real simple. It was really simple, right? And even with like the stupid bracelet thing, which wasn't really necessarily needed. Like, I could get around that, but then just adding Seth here just doesn't feel like it was needed. It felt like it wasn't something that was needed to benefit the story, right? So yeah, absolutely. I feel like they've overbooked this. Yeah, I don't really know how else to explain it. It's overbooked, and so again, I'll sort of say, like, if they wanted to go down like the idea of like a ref storyline, Ref Jess was there, and was I'm sure readily available to where you could have gone and been like, hey, do you want to ref this match? Do you want to ref this match? And all the refs are turning it down, and then like Ref Jess comes up and volunteers, and it turns out that CM Punk paid her off to help him win the match and screw Drew McIntyre, right? That would be a better story than sort of insert, because Seth Rollins is puffing up like his ref outfit and I'm gonna, if he comes out wearing what he wore on Monday or anything similar to what he wore on Monday, I probably will I don't know, I may throw my controller through my TV, which I don't want to do because I want to watch the rest of the show. But like, I don't know, get that out of the way quick if you're going to do it that way. Like, start the show with that, right? And man, I don't want to. I just like I kind of don't even want to watch the match now because Rollins is there. And Milwaukee Mike did make a good point. Like, it feels like this thing's going to be hijacked by the chanting and the outfit, and it sort of made what should have been a blood feud sort of all about Seth Rollins, right? What was built as sort of like the perfect story going into SummerSlam has now sort of become about Seth Rollins, who was just inserted for practically no reason, and is sort of starting to feel like the Bloodline Roman story, where Seth was inserted for practically no reason, and it just feels like they like to insert Seth in areas just to get him on the card in some way, shape, or form, right? And it's not necessarily needed for the benefit of the story, right? All right, so this might be a shorter episode, which is fine, right? I've done a lot of content this week. What with the Tuesday show, doing casual wrestling yesterday, and then this maybe a little bit of a shorter episode today. But we're gonna go ahead and end the show with our mid-year power rankings. I'm doing my top 10 NXT mid-year power rankings, and we're gonna start with number 10. And while number 10 is technically not an NXT superstar, one has to say that this person is one of the top 10 things on NXT right now. And I'm going to take off a little bit because he's not technically NXT, but that is Joe Hendry. Probably could be higher, to be honest with you. And yeah, Joe, he's just that quintessential talent, right? The concert that he did, perfection. And it got him over as sort of like the supreme baby face, but it also got Gallus over, right? And it was fun, man. It was fun. And I think that's what we need, is just a little bit more fun in some of these things. And I'm telling you, y'all just gotta, y'all pissed off that he didn't win TNA World Championship. He's about to come in here, probably beat Joe Coffey next week, and probably go after the title. Maybe in some way, shape, or form. I could see him getting either at No Mercy in a month, or somewhere down the line on the build to Halloween Havoc, getting that title. I can honestly see that. Number 9, he's low because he's a little bit newer, and this was a tough list to make. Ethan Page is number 9. He has to be on the list. He is the NXT champion. I don't feel like he's the most important thing on the card right now. And I feel like if they took the title off of him, he would be less important. He wouldn't even be on the list, right? I like Ethan Page. I like what he's doing. I like the character. I just feel like if he wasn't immediately inserted here, that I don't think people would necessarily care as much, right? There's some of those that are, when you're making a top 10 list, like Lexus King is really good, but he's not top 10, right? Number 8 for me is Chase U, and then I don't know what it is about Chase U, but they continually can get better week after week after week after week. Right? Thea Hale's, I think, ready for the main roster. I'm already. I think that that's a possibility that maybe I'm crazy, but I think she's ready. Right? Andre Chase, Duke Hudson, like the whole group is just fantastic. Right? It's entertaining. It's fun. And they're still like the story with Ridge, and they continually build some sort of story to keep that group interesting, right? Number 7 for me is Gallus, right? I love like when it comes to like heel factions or tag teams. This is what I like. Right, because Joe Hendry is the ultimate babyface, right? And so he needs the ultimate heel, and that's what Gallus is. And Gallus is more than ready for the main roster. I don't know what they're waiting for, but Gallus is there, and they're doing their thing, and I really 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 like them. Number 6 is Jaida Parker. I think this list would be incomplete without Jaida Parker. She is probably like, if I had to like look at the women's roster right now, I think there's 3 tiers. You have ready for main roster but in holding, and that's sort of your Roxanne Perez. I think JC Jane's in that category. I think someone like a Gigi Dolan, a Cora Jade. I think they're in that category. Like they necessarily don't need NXT. I think you then have the like once those get moved up, you need someone to fill in that vacuum of the top of the card, and I think that's what Group 2 is like. Ready, like they're NXT ready, like they're ready to hold and carry NXT. And that group is like someone like a Kelani Jordan or a Sol Ruka and Jaida Parker, and then you have like Group 3, which are like good on TV, needs a little work, right? And so Group 2 would also include someone like Fallon Henley, right? But Group 3 is like Tatum Paxley, uh, um, Lola Vice, trying to think, I done just lost names. Tatum Paxley, Lola Vice, done lost every NXT woman's name. Carmen Petrovic, Ariana Grace. They're there. They can fill in that void of the mid card. But we got like 4 women that are ready for that main event scene, and Jaida Parker is one of them, right? She walked past Roxanne on the way to her match, and it was like, and there was like a little sassiness, like, I'm ready for that feud. I'm ready for that feud, right? And speaking of someone else in that category, number 5 is Kelani Jordan. Kelani Jordan is probably like, I would say, like when the Roxannes and Thea Hale and some of the top women who could probably go to the main roster when they're going, Kelani Jordan fills in that gap, and she's the ultimate babyface, right? And you have the ultimate heel in Jaida Parker, and then you have Sol Ruka, and you have Fallon Henley that could sort of fill in that gap as well, right? And Kelani Jordan, it was hard for, like, she has the title, so you have to put her on like as higher ranked. Like, it was hard for me not. I'm be honest with you, Sol Ruka's not on this list, and that's hard for me because she's my favorite in NXT right now. Carmen Petrovic is one of my favorite on NXT right now, but I had to be sort of, objective here and not biased and recognize that I don't think they're top 10. Like, I think Sol's sitting at like 11 or 12. But right, number 4 for me is Oba Femi. I think Oba Femi, he's there, he's ready for the main event. And I think that's the only thing holding him back from being main roster ready is I don't know 100% if he could carry a brand. I know he can carry the mid card, and I know that he can sort of be like he could be there. He's really, really good in the ring. He's really, really good on the mic. I know he can carry a title, but can he carry a brand? Right. And so that's the one piece that's missing right now from Oba Femi. Number 3 might surprise you, but it's the group Metafour. Lash Legend 1,000% better over the last 2 years. Jakara Jackson 1,000% better. Ora Mensa, like I've just completely bought into the idea that Ora Mensa could probably win next week and beat Ethan Page, and I'd be 100% stoked with it. Whereas when Ora Mensa debuted, I'm like, who the hell is this clown, right? And so I'm all for Ora Mensa being world champion or NXT champion. Yeah, it's that that whole group, same thing with like Noam Dar. Even when he's not there, like the group is fantastic. They've booked this group very well. I Metafour may be my favorite thing on NXT right now. If I'm being completely honest, like I'm just bought into it. Like I wanted them to beat. I wanted Jackson and Legend to win the women's tag titles because that could utilize them in a way where hey, you got to go to Raw and you got to go to SmackDown. You can't just stay here on Tuesdays now. You're a higher level. And I think that they're ready for that spotlight. I'm also not a big fan of the Unholy Union, so I really want them to drop the titles. And I also think it would have been cool, like if Lash and Jakara won the titles, but there's a title match supposed to be tonight against Bianca and Jade, and Bianca and Jade versus Legend and Jakara Jackson. Could you talk about a banger? Like just representation of what could be in the future. Like that's a banger, man. And it's not like far from reality. Like that's a closer match than in reality. Jade and Bianca wiped the floor of the Unholy Union, size wise, or like character wise, and they're sort of closer in all of that to Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend, right? I think that would have been cool. I think that would have been cool, right? And you could have Metafour show up on Raw and SmackDown randomly. That like I think that benefits not only Raw and SmackDown but also NXT, right? Number 2 is Roxanne Perez, and I'm not the biggest Roxanne Perez fan, but you can't hide from the fact when we're doing power rankings, you got to be objective. She is the number 1 woman on the roster right now, and she's carrying the women's division. She doesn't have to carry a lot because they can sort of carry itself. But she is at the premier spot. She is the NXT Women's Champion. She is probably the best thing in NXT in terms of the women's division. I'm slowly coming to liking her heel persona. But I think we need that ultimate babyface, and maybe that's what Thea Hale was, and why I enjoyed that match so much. But yeah, and then number 1 is Trick Williams. Number 1 is Trick Williams. You need Trick to be here, because he is carrying the brand, whether or not he's champion or not. Trick Williams is the superstar of your show, right? He is your guy. He is your number 1 guy, and that's what you need him there for, is to be the guy. And that's what he's doing, and whether it's in a match against Cedric or a match against Pete Dunne or whatever, they're finding places for him to be the guy at, and he's still the number 1 thing on NXT. And so, man, you know how hard it was, because there's still people that I haven't even mentioned yet that could have potentially been on the list or will probably be on the list at this point next year. Guys like Javon Evans, guys, Lexus King, Anofe and Blade. I like that tag team. Axiom and Fraser, right? There's a whole bunch of talent. The D'Angelo family, No Quarter Catch Crew. Tavian Heights really impressed me on this episode. I think he's 1,000 times more realistic than Damon Kemp was. He's basically a replacement for Damon Kemp, which is why they put him there and sort of ostracized Damon before he got released or didn't re-sign, right? And so I like Tavian 1,000 times more than I like Damon Kemp. But yeah, that's my NXT mid-year power rankings. I probably won't do an end of the year, but more than likely I will, make a mention of it leading up toward the end of the year. I want to sort of maybe see how my list compares to the end of the year. But more than likely, all I'll do end of the year is sort of like what we normally do and do like a Junkyard Media Group year-end award thing. But outside of that, I ain't got much more for you. Again, like, share, subscribe, share with your friends. Leave us a review. Leave us a comment. Tell me what you think. Join the Discord and join the ongoing conversation. Until then, thank you all for listening, and I will see you on Tuesday with DJ Wavy D as we break down SummerSlam. Until then, y'all have a great weekend. Enjoy SummerSlam. Don't forget, if you are a casual fan or you just a fan of wrestling, the Casual Wrestling channel, go follow it. They're doing a live stream, what they're calling the Roman Reigns live stream. The stream's not going to start until the beginning of the main event, which we all assume is going to be the Bloodline, right? And with the hopes of seeing Roman Reigns return. I brought this up on their stream yesterday. What happens if Roman Reigns doesn't? I don't believe he will. But that's the fun of this, right? So join us on that stream. I'll be in the comments of it. I don't know if I'll be on stream with them. It depends. It depends on how I'm feeling at that time of night. But we'll see you all. Me and Wavy D will see you on Tuesday. Until then, have a great weekend. Enjoy SummerSlam. And yeah, have a great rest of your day.
Brother, I'm going run a wild Hulk Hogan. If all I get's a moment, I'll make sure it's an explosion. 'Cause lately I've been